Good morning, good morning. Hello, everybody. How are we all?
I'm doing well. How about you? I hope you're feeling
Ah!
refreshed and ready for whatever today has in store.
That's ChatGPT. Talking to me. The aliens are coming, people. And the plot twist is they ain't aliens. We invented them. ChatGPT is taking over. Are people using it? I've actually moved to Claude. Because apparently Claude, they don't want to end the universe. Is that true? Is that even true? Who knows? In the meantime, hello, welcome to Homo Sapiens. I'm Chris Sweeney. You are listening to the weekly email catch up episode. I'm sitting at my desk today. Normally, I'm out in the garden because it's cold. It's a beautiful sunny day, but it's cold, and I'm wearing shorts. And I started to think about doing it outside, and I was like, no. All's well here. My husband's just brought me a coffee. Nice man that he is. Those on video, hi, we can see each other. Those on audio, hi, we can hear each other. Diving into the inbox today, two emails that have stayed with me this week, so I'm going to read them. Oh, here's a nice thing actually. Did you know that planning permission? I got an email about this. Planning permission has been approved for the AIDS Memorial in London. It's designed by somebody called Anya Galaccio. She won with her proposal, and AIDS Memory UK is delighted to confirm that planning permission has now been approved for the AIDS Memorial in London to be created by British artist Anya Galaccio at South Crescent Store Street, Fitzrovia. We love Fitzrovia. Near Bloomsbury. A lot of queer stuff gone on around there. The memorial will take the form of a felled tree with rings extracted from its core and displayed upright nearby, creating a powerful and contemplative space for remembrance, reflection, and solidarity for all those affected by AIDS, HIV/AIDS, past, present, and future. That's really cool. And there's a picture of it, and it is, well, like they say, giant rings of a huge tree. Wonder if we should post that on socials. I think I'll do that. While I'm talking to you, hi Rudy, may you post this tomorrow with the solo episode? I can explain. Rudy is our current producer and smashing it, I'm going to say. So listeners, say hi to Rudy. Other things in the inbox. Listener perspective on your recent Olympics discussion. So this email's really stayed with me. One, because it is a masterclass in how to have discourse, I think. Hi, Chris. I am a long-time listener, and I wanted to write in response to your recent discussion about the Olympics and what you framed as a trans ban. I'm not writing to try to change your mind, and I don't expect this to be read out, but I did feel that the conversation presented the issue as more one-dimensional than it really is. Now, I just want to jump in, listeners, and say, I did check. I said, I'd love to read this out. I'd love to have the conversation. So that's why I'm reading it out, not because I've got their permission, is what I'm trying to say. There is, in fact, a progressive argument for maintaining sex-based categories in a small number of contexts, and elite women's sport is one of them. The position isn't inherently right-wing, exclusionary, or rooted in hostility towards trans people. It's grounded in questions of fairness in a category that was created specifically because of the biological differences. A couple of points you raised felt worth gently clarifying. While only one openly trans woman has competed at the Olympics, this doesn't fully capture the broader debate happening across elite and sub-elite sport, where governing bodies have been grappling with how to balance inclusion and fairness. The comparison between intersex prevalence and red hair is often cited, but it tends to rely on including conditions that don't meaningfully affect sex development or performance. When focusing on differences that are relevant in elite sport, the numbers are significantly smaller. More broadly, I think it's important to acknowledge why women's sport exists in the first place. It wasn't created as a philosophical statement about identity, but as a practical and hard-won category to ensure fair competition and enable women to compete succeed and be recognized on equal terms. In that sense, it's fundamentally a feminist achievement, one that exists because biological differences matter in elite sport. None of this negates the reality that trans people deserve dignity, respect, and meaningful opportunities to participate in sport. But it does suggest that in a small number of areas, sex-based distinctions remain relevant, and that holding that view doesn't automatically place someone outside of a progressive or compassionate framework. I really value the podcast, which is why I'm writing. I think these conversations are strongest when they reflect the full complexity of the issue, rather than presenting it as settled or morally straightforward. All the best. Thank you so much for that email, and I'm really pleased that you took the time to write in, and I think it's a really fair email, and it contains nuance which perhaps we don't make time for. I absolutely think you're right to say that women's sports exist for a reason, and it is a feminist achievement, and that's God, it's true, and I suppose that's why this becomes such a tricky topic. I suppose where I'm landing differently from you is that it's about not so much about the principle, perhaps, but more about the execution, which is that the repercussions around a very small, even if we include it in sub-elite sports and what you're saying, is there is it is a small amount of cases we're dealing with, and yet it allows testing across all women. And I think it was called the IOC. Monroe said they had previously tested women and people had pushed back against it, and now it's coming back. And I suppose having women's sport is a feminist win. And I'm also not a woman, so maybe I just need to step back. But anyway, I will say this and then step back because we're having a discussion. That it doesn't feel, the results, the execution doesn't feel in line with the problem that they feel they're solving. And I get frustrated by that because I think that there is a patriarchal, it is slightly a byproduct of the patriarchy that women are being asked to conform or be checked for their matchingness to an idea of what a woman is in order to secure some other details that will make elite sport as fair as it can be. And I think I'm thinking about the wider context of how it permeates out. We're just entering a stage of discourse which has moved away from, and this is part of it, in my opinion, where women are being judged even 5 years ago in a more kind of heteronormative, ultra feminine, ultra manosphere way. I suppose that's what I'm talking about. Look, I think that's where the tension comes from. I think one side of the argument is focused on the kind of principle, and the other one is focused on the outfall of it, the repercussions. But I do just want to say thanks for writing, because I think we've all got to learn how to live together with opposing views and not just straight out hate each other all the time. And I always remember when Dan from PETA, the anti-fur campaigner, came on the podcast. He was the guy who masterminded all the kind of throwing paint at people on the catwalk and had Pamela Anderson. He had Pamela Anderson on his. He was the one who got Pamela Anderson to front lots of campaigns for PETA. And I was so surprised by how he's a queer man, but like how he said, I always socialize with people with really, really opposing views to me, because that is a really good thing in life. And I try and be like that, although I did just slag off Nadine Dorries in a WhatsApp group. But, I do try and be open. And yeah, it's hard. It's like I do try and be fair, measured, rising above it, because I'm not sure how useful it is to simply enter into entrenchment. And that's a wider point, but it's also something I get wrong all the time. Particularly, I think I was pretty unnuanced in my trans inclusion Olympics piece, hence the email. Anyway, every day we try to improve, listeners. Now then, thank you for that email. Let's look at the next one. So, if you remember, Mithan wrote in saying that he, as a gay South Asian Gujarati man, teacher, got pulled into the office because he was a teacher teaching at a school. He had done a video about coming out as a Gujarati South Asian man. People saw it online. The school pulled him into the office and said you can't do that when they knew that he actually could. I just asked him to elaborate on that, and Mithan wrote in. Hi Chris, just caught up. In answer to your question, the first incident was 2012 and the second situation came later in 2016. So the two situations to which we refer, listeners, are being pulled in by the teachers, and then I think the second one was when then students found him online. And basically, Mithan left teaching as a result of this. It was that horrible. Anyway, honestly, looking back, I'm still not entirely sure what was right or wrong and how any of it was handled. What I do know is that I probably should have recognized the pattern earlier. When you spent your whole life being told that who you are is wrong, you don't always see the pattern, you just keep adapting. Because what was happening to Myth, and me just jumping in here, is that he was told that he wasn't dressing right. He was dressing different from the other teachers at school. Just homophobia, basically. Going back to Mithan's message, growing up Gujarati and South Asian, being gay wasn't something that existed in any safe way. It was something that was ridiculed, dismissed, used as an insult by family members at school, everywhere, that was supposed to feel like home. I didn't accept myself as mentioned till 30. That's 3 decades of learning to disappear parts of yourself. So I'm not surprised I kept walking into rooms and situations that asked me to do exactly that. It was familiar even when it was damaging. And then of all things, I got headhunted and went to Dubai. It was good for a time until I was signing contracts agreeing not to speak about anything LGBTQ+, watching what I wore, leaving the rainbows at the door. What happened to colour theory, honestly? There is only so much the mind, body and soul can absorb before something gives, and eventually something did. Something significant, something I'm still working through, and I had to tap out. You genuinely could not make this up. So right now I'm doing the work, figuring out what's meant for me, who I actually am underneath all of it, and what comes next. You'd think simply being yourself would be the easiest thing in the world. Mithan, it's not. Oh, then Mithan goes on to say, it isn't. Not when you're being yourself was never really out to begin with. But we survive another day and we try our best. That has to count for something. Quite right, Mithan. And sorry to hear you've been going through a ton. Listeners, let's all pull together here. Hello at Homo Sapiens Podcast. Write in, what do you all do in times like that when you're struggling? I've been kind of turning off the news, except I did basically stay up the night that Trump said he was going to raise Iran to the ground because whenever it was the ceasefire deal or whatever, I had to listen to that. It's been really hard to try and tune all that stuff out. I do think it sounds so silly, but I think see your friends, go for a walk, connect with the world. Which is why I love Tom Allen's podcast Pottering, because it's just him in the garden. And he said that was why he did it, to sort of just ground ourselves. I know that works for me. But write in and tell me what helps for you guys. Hello at homosapienspodcast.com, at Homo Sapiens on Instagram, at Homo Sapiens Pod on YouTube. You got to follow us. Please subscribe there. And what else was I going to say to you? People are writing in for gender affirming underwear. Are you that person? Hello at Homo Sapiens podcast. I've just said that. But anyway, write in if you would like Homo Sapiens to buy you some gender affirming underwear. If you would like to nominate yourself or someone you know, we are supporting Not a Phase with this season of the podcast. Coming up this week, in 2 days' time, I Kissed a Boy, I Kissed a Girl has been cancelled. Boo! Now, so what that means is I had to get Roxy Bordelon, editor of Diva, along to talk about let's have the whole thing out. She worked very closely with the BBC for the launch of I Kissed a Girl, so she's got some good tea. So that's coming on Thursday. Plus, of course, because it's Roxy, we just had a gas about life. I adore her. I think I told a really long story about eBay. No, that was with Megan Crab, which is also coming up in a couple of weeks. So if you want a really long, overly long story about eBay, just tune in for that. And we're talking about the manosphere, actually, Megan and I. The queer infiltration, the effect of the manosphere on queer people and how it's kind of, in my opinion, not in my opinion, no, Chris. We talk about is it infiltrating the queer world in ways that perhaps aren't that easy to see. Quite an interesting, I'm not going to say quite, a very interesting discussion. That's why we did it. Listeners, I love talking to you. Have a wonderful day. Oh dear, I've broken my headphone holder. That's annoying. We fight on. Sending you loads of love. Stay in touch. Bye for now.